I guess I should tell you about myself first. My name is Ejan. I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. I was a very shy kid when I was growing up. I rarely talked to anybody in school. I would sit in the back of the classroom. I was not really a straight A student. I was more of a, I really like history and art more than anything else. So I kind of geared it toward that way, I guess. My escape from my not so happy high school career was to buy comic books and watch anime. So at that time period, I was watching Akira. We're talking about the 90s here, okay? So Akira, Macross, Robotech, So Bianca, Devil Hunter Yoko, Bubblegum Crisis, 80 Police, Ghost in the Shell, Appleseed, Cowboy Bebop. So that was what I was into. On the comic book scene, I was more into Spider-Man and X-Men. I was more into Marvel than DC. Not that I have anything against DC, I just identify with Spider-Man more because he was a geek, he couldn't talk to girls, and he was definitely not an athlete. And look, I'm from Texas. I mean, football is a religion in that state, So for me, I identify very well with Peter Parker, and so for me, that was basically like my escape. My first convention was A-Kon in Dallas, Texas, which is now today the longest running anime convention in the country at, I think, 23 or 24 years. I actually don't know. It's somewhere around that time. I was in college, and I was going to school at University of North Texas, and that's in Denton, Texas, about 45 minutes from the Oklahoma border. So I had some friends who were going to A-Kon, and they were like, hey, do you want to come along with us? And it was a one-day thing, so I went down there, and I basically fell in love with the dealer hall. I spent all my money. All my money was gone. Just gone. I bought so much stuff. I'm sure you guys can relate to that story, Well, also really quick, before I went to A-Kon, I actually went to a comic book convention when I was maybe 12 in Houston. I don't even remember the name of it, and I have very faint memories of it, but I remember going and with my sister and buying comic books. I wish I could remember the name of it, but I actually can't remember. But so that turned me into that really didn't get me into the convention world. Like, I only went for one day, and though I loved it, I didn't go back the next year. And actually, I got more serious about studying. I was studying photography at that time, and also filmmaking. And so I kind of put that away, and I just focused on my own career path, When I moved to Los Angeles, I did not even go to Anime Expo or any conventions there at all. I just kind of was working, and I was working as a photo assistant, I assisted for a lot of photographers, New York photographers, European photographers, anybody who would basically pay me to be their assistant, But it wasn't until 2008 that I went to Anime Expo, and the reason why I went was because I was driving by the LA Convention Center, and they usually advertise future conventions, on those billboards, right? So they'll say like Home and Garden Show or something, and I saw Anime Expo 2008, and I was like, oh, dude, I should go check it out, Now, I already knew what cosplay was because I've seen it online, and it was basically like, hall cosplay shots. There were cosplayers, and there were like people walking behind them and stuff like that. And it's kind of interesting. When you see pictures of cosplay, and then when you're actually at a convention, it's almost like two different things. Actually, it's different nowadays. When I started back in 2008, it was a little bit different. Like, nowadays, there's so much stuff about cosplay on YouTube and online that you can have a pretty good idea of what convention life is without actually leaving your house. But back then, I never looked at YouTube and I never researched anything, so I kind of went in kind of blind. I mean, I knew what conventions were. I went to A-Kon, but it was years ago, So I went to AX, and I had a blast. I mean, I had so much fun. It was kind of crazy. Like, I was like, oh my god, look at all these people. Wow, they're dressing up like so-and-so. I will admit, I didn't know who 90% of the people were dressed up as, because remember, by the time I stopped, I only went to one convention, and I kind of stopped watching anime after a while because I got busy with schoolwork. I was kind of missing like a bunch of years, so I miss a lot of stuff. That, I mean, I know them now, but I've never actually watched it, Like Toonami, I never actually watched Toonami in my life because I didn't even have cable. Like, the only time I got cable was when I went to college, and that was only basic cable, like, you know, MTV, and some stuff, and that was it. So I was just like flabbergasted, like all these people dressed up, and I started taking pictures. By the way, when I went in 2008, I actually took my whole setup. You know, it looks like, you know, like this kind of setup. Because I was already working as a photo assistant, and I can get equipment already, and I kind of want to make it different from what I've seen before online, which is like haul cosplay shots. So I bought my backdrop. People always think that I took them into my studio. I don't have a studio, and second of all, it's easier to just go to conventions because everybody shows up at conventions. So I would find a place set up, and I would set up I would set up near the main area. There's always some area where cosplayers hang out. So I would find an area, and I would hang out near that area, but I wouldn't block any doors. All my strobe is battery powered, so I wasn't using anybody's electricity. I mean, believe me, there are times when people from, you know, con will come up to me, well, con staff or con security or con volunteers will come up to me, but usually I'm not charging any money, I'm not using their power, and I'm usually out of the way. They usually left me alone, and which is amazing because I went to some of the biggest conventions in the country, and they were just like, as long as I didn't bother them or do anything stupid, they were cool with it, you know. So I did it. So I just, you know, I was going to go for one day only. That was my plan. But I had so much fun. I went back the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Right. So basically, I spent the whole July 4th weekend at Anime Expo without even planning to even do that, you know. So, and I met so many wonderful people who I even still see today that, I mean, I was just, it's kind of crazy that I've known people for like 5 years now. Here's even a weird story. So I made a new friend, and she had her younger sister with her. Her younger sister was in high school, and I remember that, you know, that she was in high school in 2008. Well, I saw that sister earlier this year when I was in New York. She's about to graduate college, and I was like, oh my God, time really flies. It really does, you know. It's not like that. Anyway, the next video I'll talk about like how I came about to do the book itself. But let's just say that I had a really great experience at Anime Expo 2008. I really wish I went to all the previous Anime Expos, like at the Long Beach Convention Center and Anaheim Convention Center, but I was never even there. That whole gap, like there's a whole big gap of stuff that I just don't know about, you know. And I kind of wish I was around earlier to see how cosplay was. And the only reason I know how cosplay was in the early 2000s is what people have told me, you know. And I feel that cosplay is changing fast, and I feel that with technology, with social media, with everything, it's moving even faster than it was 5 years ago. And I kind of hardly recognize the landscape anymore, you know. Now when I go to conventions, there's tons of photographers with strobist type setups and everything. I didn't see that many when I started in 2008. Now we have like videographers running around. Like back in 2008, that wasn't really happening, you know. It feels kind of surreal, and I'm still around. But I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen. Like, my plan is to go to Anime Expo 2018 and just check it out, because by 2018 that means I've spent 10 years actually in the game, so to say, you know. Anyway, next video I'll talk more about the book part and all the troubles and turmoils and all the chaos that this thing caused me, you know. Anyway, thanks guys. See you later.